I took my family to an October festival today and successfully. I took my family to an October festival today, and one of the biggest things I'm proud of is that I did not make a massive scene with a grandmother who stole my seat. My wife and kids were over at a cookie and cake decorating tent, and I had successfully snagged a table large enough to handle myself, my family, and my in-laws. As soon as my kids finished their cookies, they set them down and they were ready to go to the next target because there were inflatable slides, bouncy houses, all kinds of fun waiting to be had elsewhere. Well, it was windy and the plates kept blowing away, and so my mother-in-law said she was going to stay with me and help make sure we didn't lose any of the plates or cookies or anything else like that. She lasted about 10 or 15 minutes and then she got thirsty, so she would go get a bottle of water. She asked me if I wanted one. I said it was fine, but she was going to bring one back for me anyways. She comes back, sets down 2 bottles of water, and takes off after my kids. While I'm sitting there though, my kids are giving my wife a difficult time, so she calls me. She asked me what I was doing, and I said I am holding down the table. She said, I've got the youngest 2, and then my mom has 1, my dad has 1. I asked her, how many adults does it take to watch 4 children? Apparently, we need a 1-to-1 ratio. I could tell in her voice, obviously she wanted some help, but I also knew that there was going to be a moment whenever everybody needed a place to meet, and our table was the only one that was open that was that size. As soon as I hung up the phone with her, the wind picked up and knocked off our cookies. It also knocked off the 2 bottles of water out of reach from where I could get them in my chair. I stand up, lean over to get the 2 bottles of water, put them in our stroller, which is right at the table. And within that amount of time, a couple walked up and a lady literally grabbed my chair, moved it, and sat in it. Now, I know I've lost a step or 2 since I've had children, but I'm not that slow. It didn't take me that long to get a couple of bottles of water and pick them up. I turn around and I stare at her and her husband, and I am dumbfounded. I literally cannot say anything. I could feel myself getting angry and getting ready to just go off on him. Like, how dare you take my seat? I was sitting in that. Did you not see me sitting in the chair? I literally feel it. It's warm. I've been there. As I'm staring at the guy and contemplating whether or not I'm going to say anything, he starts to recognize that, oh, maybe he had this table, and he tries to look at his wife, but his wife is locked in on that chair. She wanted that chair really, really bad. There are 7 other chairs at this table. Why the heck did she choose to sit in the one chair I was in? Well, after we made eye contact and I just am internally huffing and puffing, I grab our stroller and I start walking off, and he says, were you sitting here? And I said, I was, but I think I'm just gonna leave. Well, I walked over to my wife and she looked at me a little confused, wondering, I thought you said you were gonna stay at the table. I said I was, but as soon as I stood up, some granny slid into my chair before I could turn around and sit right back down. It ended up being a better decision. I was able to enjoy the time with my family and really appreciate the fact that I was not sitting at a table by myself, hoping that they would come over and be with me. So I'll say this for you. If you find yourself sitting in a place waiting and hoping for something to happen, and somebody comes along and kind of pushes you out of that zone that you were waiting in, and it starts to frustrate you, instead of staying frustrated and complaining about what they did, why don't you move on and move towards something else and find the enjoyment doing something else instead of clinging to a seat and a table. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you appreciated hearing the story about the Granny Seat Snatcher. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider subscribing. If you like the content, give me a thumbs up, share it on social media, put something down in the comments section, and I will see you next time when we can share a cigar and change the world.